What's going on, everyone? Today, 53% of the S&P 500 popped up in the green, and it was definitely a great day to be a trader as we saw some clean and explosive movement. We could see big tech stocks definitely led the way to the downside as we had companies like Nvidia, Google, Tesla, and others just get destroyed. In today's video, we're going to talk about what's moving the market, what you need to know, and the top stocks to keep on the radar. We have some big news with Nvidia, Tesla, and of course, some Trump tariff updates as well. So let's not waste any time, and let's get right to it, Tom.
Yeah, as you can tell, the overall market was pretty bloody today. The SPY ended up falling down in a pretty crazy way, down 1.19%. Whenever we zoom out on like an hourly chart, it doesn't look like that crazy of a pullback though, because the SPY has been bouncing back to the upside pretty well in the short term. But whenever you zoom in, it definitely gets pretty rough. And Mike, going and looking at the heat map, I know you said 53% were actually up in the green, but I don't know how that's even possible with the way the market was selling off today. I mean, the tech stocks were really brutalized, and I will say Nvidia led the way down. Whenever the market opened today, I was pretty optimistic. The SPY was actually pushing up towards its recent resistance, and I was pretty happy, but we had some negative Nvidia China news come out very early this morning. Ended up being a pretty negative thing where China is actually looking to do some regulations and make chips more energy efficient. And obviously this is a problem for Nvidia. They did say that their H20 processors obviously do not meet the requirements introduced by the Economic Planning Agency, but they did say that they adjusted the chips to meet energy efficiency rules. So this is a very interesting situation, Mike, and at the end of the day, Nvidia shareholders did not take this in a positive light.
Yeah, so like in the simplest sense, China came out with some new rules where the chips that are used in China have to be more energy efficient. You know, that might hurt Nvidia's sales, and people are selling the stock pretty quickly here. Looking at Nvidia on the charts, it has definitely been pretty rough for this one, not only over recent weeks and months, but it's crazy to even say this, Tom, but this stock has been flat since May of 2024. So it's almost been a full year where this stock has basically just done nothing. And I'll say, like, in the short term, the price action definitely is looking a little scary. So looking at this stock for tomorrow, I know there's a lot of bearish momentum in the short term. What are the most important levels to watch, and what are you seeing on the charts?
Yeah, whenever I zoom out a little bit on Nvidia's chart, there is a key support and maybe shining light here, which is a good sign, around $113. Now, this is going to be an area that I watch very closely tomorrow. It did break under this slightly today by around 20 cents or so, but if we end up getting under this $113 support, that's where I think we'll start to see a much larger sell-off, and there are some pretty big levels that I'm targeting to the downside. Let's go look at the Bookmap. 110 is a major buy wall down here. I really like this 667,000 share stack that we're seeing at 110. That will be major, and I'll even watch 112 if we end up getting below this 113 area. But I think 110 is going to be the largest, most psychological level in the short term, unless, of course, if we break that, then I do like this recent peak as well, down around 105. But then again, we have to break through this big buy wall first.
I do think there will be a lot of scalp opportunities with Nvidia, not only for tomorrow, but even over like the next couple of weeks, you can say. The stock is, like, even though it has been choppy in a broader sense, there has been some really good, like, clean momentum-driven movement on a day-to-day basis with this one, where you have to, like, adjust the direction somewhat frequently, but that's fine because, you know, that is just like standard procedure in a market environment like this one. But I do think if we get closer to like that 110 area, that will definitely hurt some of the sentiment that we currently see with Nvidia that is already weak, and it definitely will be a rough sign. If we get past 110, 105 is another major level, and past that, 100 is like the major level, as it's also a key psychological level. So either way with Nvidia, there should be some pretty good day-to-day scalp momentum-driven opportunities with it, and definitely keep it on watch.
100%, and I am watching for a possible higher low to form here as it gets closer towards that 105 area, maybe around 110, maybe 107, maybe even like double bottoming at 105, but that will definitely be a crucial area to hold. And there was definitely a lot of selling today. Just going back to the heat map, it was a sea of red, but another stock that sold off over 5% that has a massive impact on the stock market is Tesla. And Tesla's actually had a lot of positive and bullish momentum in the short term. We can see last week and even early this week, Tesla was ripping to the upside, and Elon's going to be angry as there's some bad Euro sales here, and overall sales in Europe are down quite a bit. There's some pretty bad stats that they sold just under 27,000 vehicles, down from more than 46,000 last year. That's a 40% year-over-year drop in new vehicle registrations, while the overall battery electric vehicle sales were up 26%. So that's definitely a terrible thing to see. I saw other brands like, let's say, Volkswagen, BMW, and others obviously have been doing a lot better, where Tesla has been kind of kicked to the curb. And I will say, Elon's politics, I think, are playing a big role over in Europe.
Yeah, and it really hurts when you have like 40% year-over-year drops in new vehicle registrations, while at the same time, overall battery electric vehicle sales were up 26%, just like you said. Like, that just it just hurts a lot more. And yeah, the political stuff with Elon lately has definitely been playing a big role. I know in yesterday's video we mentioned this Tesla humanoid robot showcase on Capitol Hill today, but that event has still not happened. So that is something to still keep on the radar for a potential catalyst for tomorrow. But even looking at Tesla stock, Tom, you know, it was a pretty brutal day today. What are you seeing in terms of the major levels for this one?
Yeah, Tesla's had a big resistance here in the short term, where it's been reacting around 285 to 290. We can see up here at the top, there's been a couple of pretty good peaks. I really like this 285 mark just under that peak. We've been seeing a lot of good rejections there. Even today, that was pretty much like the high early on before it sold off, and it tested some major support today around 273 and even 270. It ended up breaking under there momentarily today, and that's going to be a big level to keep on watch tomorrow. I do like 265, and then even more especially 250 down below here is going to be on watch. 250 is going to be a major psychological level. If Tesla keeps dropping, I think that that's going to be a big area that a lot of traders target over the next couple trading days.
There we go. And Tesla stock is somewhat similar to Nvidia in a trading sense, where we know this stock always has like strong momentum driven, most of the time clean movement, which is definitely a good thing. It's just the direction changes so rapidly, especially in a market environment like this one. The stock is certainly in play, so there definitely are scalp opportunities here. But again, you just have to be very willing to adapt direction wise. So keep Tesla close on the radar. And it's also in a unique position where, like, over the past few days, the momentum is more towards the bear side, but when you zoom out at least to like the past week or two, the momentum is a little bit more bullish. So again, keep it on the radar. There's definitely scalp opportunities in both directions here, but we also have some news related to some Trump auto tariffs. So today he is scheduled to give a press conference, and it was supposed to start at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We've been waiting for him to speak, but it's been nearly 40 minutes and he still hasn't started yet. So keep this on the radar as well. This auto tariff news definitely did have an impact in Tesla's price action today, and it even had some pretty decent movement from stocks like Ford and GM as well.
Yeah, going and looking at Ford and GM, those are stocks that I'm definitely keeping on the radar here. Ford sold off and then had this like V-shaped recovery today that was kind of strange, and General Motors ended up pulling back quite a bit. GM recently announced buybacks and increased their dividend, and they've been kind of ripping to the upside, but that was a pretty stiff rejection today, and they almost just about filled the gap on the daily chart. So maybe we'll have to be looking at a little bit of rejection on some of these auto stocks if the tariffs do end up hurting it. But keep your eyes on the headlines for that tonight. I'm sure you're going to be hearing a lot about that. And then Trump even came out today and talked more about the April 2nd reciprocal tariffs and said that they'll probably be more lenient than reciprocal. And I thought this was kind of a funny quote here. He goes, "I know there are some exceptions and it's an ongoing discussion, but not too many. not too many exceptions. So I don't know. I guess he's going to be lenient, but not overly lenient.
Yeah, the market wasn't too happy with that news. Just by looking at today's price action, it's like it sounds like he's like trying to ease some like worries, but it doesn't look like it was like that good for the bulls. So as we know from this year, the market has been moving more off of tariff news than basically anything else. So whenever Trump speaks, whether it be these reciprocal tariffs or the auto tariffs or pharmaceutical tariffs or any other tariffs, it has big impacts. I think some of the stocks that will be most in play in the short term are stocks like Tesla, Ford, and GM, and of course SPY, given the auto updates and just like the general, reciprocal tariffs. So definitely keep these stocks on the radar. And looking at some of these levels on SPY, Tom, today was definitely a pretty bloody day. What are you seeing in terms of major levels and analysis for tomorrow?
Yeah, SPY gave back a lot of gains here, which was a bit negative to see, and it is approaching a pretty good gap where it ended up gapping up or I should say this Monday. We had a really good opening this week, and the SPY ended up ripping to the upside. I am going to be watching for that gap to fill. I do like that 565 to 565 support, or 564 support range there. It's like a $1 range where SPY has seen a lot of touches and bounces over the past couple weeks. That is going to be major, and I'm really eyeing up the low of day from today, right around 567 as a good support. If we see SPY break below there, that's where I'll target that 565, 564 area. I thought it was a bit negative to see SPY close under 570 today. That was a big level that I had on the radar intraday. And I also thought it was rough for it to break under 574, which was a crucial support that we talked about yesterday. And once that breakdown happened today, there was a great opportunity to the downside. I know a lot of people banked off puts on that one.
Big time. And I think the biggest risk for SPY on like a charting standpoint is if it breaks this higher low trend that it has been making ever since March 13th. It had that initial low right around 550, and then it had that like secondary low around like 558 or so. So ideally we want to see SPY like hold this to continue this trend. If it breaks below that, that definitely would be pretty worrying. And while today was definitely pretty rough, we do have a little bit of wiggle room just given the recent gains since the 13th, which does help. So either way, keep that in mind. And I do think those resistance levels you mentioned overhead are certainly worth keeping on the radar as well, because today's drop was pretty strong and should not be underestimated. So good stuff there. And then shifting over into the lineup this week for earnings and economic events, what do we have for tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow's a pretty big day. We have the GDP growth rate 1 hour before the market opens. That could end up moving the market quite a bit. If we see like GDP falling a lot, that would obviously be a pretty bad sign. So definitely have your eyes on that tomorrow morning. And then Friday, we have the PCE data, which we'll talk about a lot more tomorrow night. On the earnings side of things, Mike, we are getting towards the end of the week, which is a good thing in my opinion. We have Lulu and KULR reporting in after hours tomorrow. Tomorrow's my favorite day for earnings. I really do think that Lulu will be an interesting report. And of course, KULR has had a lot of crazy price action in the short term as well.
All right, sounds great. Well, let's get right into some setups and predictions then. A stock that is certainly close on the radar is ARM, and it is to the downside. ARM is a semiconductor stock, and as Nvidia had some pretty rough price action today, and of course all the bad news that came along with it, as expected, ARM had a pretty bad drop as well. It closed down by over 7%, and this stock definitely has been struggling. I do have it on the radar for a potential continuation. It does have some support right around that like 110 area, so there is room to that level, and if we break below that, that would be a pretty rough sign. There are like secondary supports around like 105 and then 100, but that offers more than enough opportunity for like a momentum driven move down to those levels. So either way, ARM is on my bearish radar. There's some recent news and the price action is pretty rough, which definitely helps the bears here.
Yeah, that 110 support looks awesome in the short term. If we test that, that could end up being a fun play for the short term. With my first play for tomorrow, I'm looking at McDonald's to the upside. This is a bit of a hedge play, I'd say. McDonald's tends to move up on these weird days where the market does bad. It doesn't necessarily have like a terrible correlation to SPY, but only moderate, which is not near as good as like a lot of these tech stocks. And you can see today, it was actually up over 2%. It's starting to break above some pretty key resistances and hold $300. So I'm going to keep looking for McDonald's to the upside on the daily chart. I think over the next few trading days, it'd be awesome to like test this recent peak around 325. But McDonald's is a stock that will have a mind of its own, and it doesn't always have to follow the SPY, which is a good thing in my opinion right now.
And what's nice about McDonald's, just like you said, is that it does move a lot differently than most other stocks. Even when we saw all of these other big tech stocks just get shredded today, McDonald's not only was green, but it was green in a strong and relatively consistent way. So I also do see value with keeping this one on watch as well. Another stock that is definitely on the radar is OXY, and it is to the upside. I know this one was mentioned a handful of times recently, and it has been doing pretty well. Looking at this stock today, it continued its recent uptrend and had a pretty good day overall. We can see we are getting closer to some of these recent resistance levels around like 52 and even like 52.50 and like 53 or so, which is great to see and are levels worth keeping on watch going forward. I like how the stock is moving like very consistently over the past few weeks, and again, it's moving up in a time where a lot of broader selling is taking place, which is a good thing, especially in a market like this one. So OXY is definitely on the bullish radar.
Yeah, mine too. This is a pretty awesome setup in the short term. I can't believe how well these oil stocks have been moving at market open. Like today, it was a bull fest for Oxy whenever the bell rang. So I will have it on the radar tomorrow as well. With my next setup, I'm looking at Nvidia, which I know we talked about already, but there's some important levels to really watch for tomorrow. I really like this 113 low of day from today, or right around like 112.72. And I know I mentioned some buy walls on the Bookmap. Shout out to them. If you're interested in the Bookmap, check out the links in the description down below. There's some really good deals. I really like the 3-month deal. I think that's a really good way to get started on the Bookmap platform. But at the end of the day, this 110 buy wall is going to be on watch. I do like 112 for tomorrow as well. There's over 600,000 shares at that 110 area. And one thing that I really like about 110 as well, if we go out on like, let's say an hourly chart, we zoom out a little bit, this 110 range has been a spot where Nvidia has bounced before. This will definitely be a major level coming up before we get back to that 105 recent low.
All right, sounds good. So keep Nvidia close on watch for multiple reasons. It is definitely in play. But besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have QBTS to the downside.
Yeah, poor QBTS down 5.8% today. A lot of these quantum and AI stocks were down a lot. If they break under $8, keep watching them to the downside.
All right, with the next one, we have GRAB to the upside.
Grab was actually popping. If they break $4.80, watch them to the upside. This is a pretty good resistance from the past few trading days as well.
All right, and then with the last one, we have SMH to the downside.
Oh gosh, the tech stocks were so rough today. Poor SMH, but it's right around a key support at 220. So if we see the tech stocks, open up red again tomorrow, watch for a 220 breakdown on SMH.
Sounds good. So we have SMH, GRAB, and QBTS all on the radar for potential continuations tomorrow, if and only if they break through the levels listed. As always, prioritize smart, sustainable, long-term oriented trading habits above all else. That means having stop losses to protect yourself no matter which trade you take. Size reasonably, follow the money, have a thesis for any trade you place, among many other things, as listed for free in the Key Lessons channel of the StockedUp Discord. So definitely keep that in mind. But besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's $222,000 big money trade. And today we are looking at ticker symbol XLY. Today, the big money is risking $222,000 to make $527,000 with an XLY put trade where they bought the 200 strike puts that expire on September 19th of 2025. For my advanced traders out there, they are also selling the 185 strike puts to make this a put debit spread trade. For those of you who don't know, XLY is an ETF that follows the consumer discretionary sector. So think companies like Amazon, Tesla, Home Depot, McDonald's, Lowe's, Starbucks, companies like that. Basically looking at this setup here, there are multiple things at play. We have been seeing consumer sentiment just absolutely tanking lately, which definitely hurts companies like these ones as spending is expected to decrease. At the same time, with all of the tariff trade war craziness going on, that definitely hurts the input costs for these companies, which definitely is another bearish thing. And when we look at the put options here, they are only slightly out of the money, which certainly increases the probability of profit for this trader. So either way, keep a close eye on this one, and I'm excited to see how it does.
Yeah, it seems like XLY right now is bouncing off this like 192 to 195 support. It got back above $200 recently, but I am watching for some resistance to touch and maybe for XLY to come back down. Maybe today was the start of that, but this is a very interesting big money play. It's not the largest one ever, but it does have quite a bit of time, which makes me kind of scratch my head out to September, right? It sounds like somebody might be worried for the next few months and over this summer here, and who knows, maybe 2025 is going to be one of those weird years where we see the overall market continue to tumble down and we do enter into that bear market. And I think that with all the tariff fears and everything, that's definitely something to worry about, and this could be a good play to maybe, hedge yourself if you own a lot of those companies that you were mentioning.
Yeah, so, of course, with a trade like this one, naturally the trader here is expecting this trade to take some time. They bought out to September for a reason. What XLY does tomorrow means nothing. So either way, with this one, keep it on the radar, and I will also keep a close eye on it. And if you guys are into short-term trading, you definitely have to check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Our surge bot went absolutely nuts today as there was some explosive movement as we had some Nvidia put options pop up by 250%, AMD put options pop up by 238%, AVGO put options pop up by 219%, Google put options pop up by 170%, Hood put options pop up by 148%, and so on. It was definitely a very exciting day on that front. You also get full access to the daily big money trades, weekly live events, endless other bots, and all other channels, resources, and tools in the trading floor. We basically have everything you can need for short-term trading. So if you're interested, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. But Tom, while we're in the Discord, we might as well also give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, RTPV, who had some great profit posts today. We can see the first one was with Google, where he did very well, so awesome job there. But he also had another profit screenshot with AMD, which was also great to see. And these were some pretty high percentages too. So huge shout out to you, RTPV. Keep up the great work going forward. Looking at the market tomorrow, it should definitely be a very action-packed day. These Trump tariff updates definitely move the markets quite a bit. Nvidia, Tesla, and others are certainly in play, and they are moving in clean, momentum-driven ways, so make sure to keep them on watch. And as always, let's keep our eyes peeled for any breaking news, as the market has been moving quite a bit off of it in 2025. So thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.